Walters a dummy half, goes himself.
Dropped it.
He's going to give the try.
Turn it up. He's dead set. Drop that.
Turn it up. G'day and welcome to the first edition of the Footy Show. In the next hour, we'll be looking at the latest in rugby league, tackling the big issues, having a shot at our Pass the Ball competition, and giving our viewers the chance to be part of the fun. Joining me today, Peter Sterling. Sterling, your Parramatta Eels are going okay.
The first 4 weeks have been very impressive. A little bit disappointed they didn't get the money last week, but St George played well. I think a good Parramatta is good for the competition.
And Blocker, what's doing with the Tigers?
Mate, just the last pass. I think they had plenty of try-scoring opportunities yesterday, Paul, but just the last pass let them down. Recently, an archaeological team went to the Indies and they found a mummy. Now, whilst they were carbon dating that mummy, it sort of came alive. He joins us today, Rex Mossop. What's doing, Rex? Good to have you back, son.
Is that the sort of action I'm going to get on?
It's just starting.
All right, I can take it.
Good to have you back, Rex,
Nice
on
to be back.
Talking Footy, because one of the legends of the game. In Brisbane, and hello to Gene Miles, our Queensland stalwart.
Good afternoon, Fatty.
Broncos, a bit lucky yesterday, Gene?
I don't know about lucky, Fatty. I think it was a very good game, and they'll be quite satisfied to walk away from Leichhardt Oval with the 2 points.
We'll hear from you later talking about that game. We've got a couple of special guests joining us today as well. We've got Terry Lamb from Canterbury and Brian Smith from the Balmain side. We'll be talking to them later about the game that was played yesterday and also the game that's on tomorrow. Before we get into the action, we invite you to have our say on one of the game's burning issues. The question today is the head-high tackle rule too tough? To vote yes on that question, simply phone 0055 60256, and to vote no, dial 0055 60257. We're going to keep the lines open throughout the show and update you on the voting. At the end of the show, we're going to give away $1,000 to one of those lucky callers. It'll be picked by the computer, won't be picked by any of us here. So, Kim, if you're out there, give us a ring, love, because we need the money. So we've got the formalities out of the way, so let's take a look at the action. And the Brisbane Balmain game was played yesterday. Brisbane won the match 12 points to 6. Brian, where did your side fall down?
I think you've already sort of pointed to it already, Fatty. Blocker reiterated it as well. We just can't finish it off. We made about 5 or 6 clean breaks yesterday, and I was at fault on one of them. I think I'd managed to make a bit of a break and I chip kicked instead of looking inside for a pass. And that was pretty much the story of the day. Brisbane had a couple of chances and scored both times.
And had an element of luck, as instance that particular kick there that rebounded off a Balmain player straight back to Hancock, and he went through. And
what about the forward pass, Rex?
Well, of course,
no one says anything about the forward pass.
Well, there's no use criticising referees.
No.
Brian, it's not only been yesterday where the Tigers have fallen down. I know you've only been back there for the last couple of games, but now, as we've said in our coverage, and we've done quite a few Balmain games, they've been in position to win matches. And it's something that you've got to learn over the weeks. Why isn't that lesson being learnt, that when you're in a winning position, it's just not happening?
Yes, Sterlo, I mean, we're mystified by it as well. If we knew what the ingredient was, we'd all be, drinking it or smoking it or whatever you have to do to get there, get across the line. But I think we're playing with a little bit of lack of confidence, I suppose, and I think that's why we're failing to finish off. One loss goes into 2 and then 3 and you're on a roll, and, we haven't panicked or anything, and Jonesy's doing a good job to keep us all together. But it's tough, and we've had a tough draw to begin with. Every side we've played against pretty much semi-final contenders so far. And if there are any easy games, we hope to have the next few weeks anyway. It's sort of a bit of a let-off in the pressure for us.
I'd like to comment on a couple of players that I thought were totally outstanding. I'd like to mention Gilmeister particularly. I thought he had a top-line game, a real good game, tough front on defence. And Sinclair, I believe, was going to be thrown out of the club some stage last year because he was what is termed loosely in the trade a mug. But he's turned it around, and I give Alan Jones a lot of credit for that.
I don't know where you hear information from, Rex. There was no way that Jason Sinclair was ever going to be let out of the club.
Well, I'm told reliably that he was. That he was
the
causing
reliable
too much
source
trouble.
isn't telling you the truth.
Well, my reliable source was my reliable source.
Who is it, mate?
And you just be quiet about it.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah,
Hey, Gino, still with us up there in Brisbane? We're going to break this up.
Well,
the Broncos,
if Balmain...
Premiership favourites, they're not playing too well, are they?
No, they've started off pretty ordinary this season, but last week was a great indication that they're getting back to their running best. And although they didn't show that yesterday, that to come away from Leichhardt, as I said previously, with 2 points, and Balmain being the bogey side and Leichhardt being a bogey ground, Wayne Bennett was satisfied, but not overly happy with the effort.
Tell us about the form of Alan Langer.
Well, I'll just update you on his injury first. He copped a bump to his knee, and it's not as bad as first thought. He was up dancing last night at a nightclub, so he'll be back next week. So there's no.
With you?
No, I was
He'd
at
have been there
home.
to see it.
I had no
Was
money
his
left
wife
after
with him,
that.
Gino?
No, unfortunately, she's just had a baby, so she was at home minding the week-old baby. But
nice
there's
give
no
up.
great. Yeah, well, there's no great concern there, and I think they're not far off coming good. And they're keeping the same 13 on the paddock again now, so I look forward to the next couple of weeks. They've got some hard games, Penrith next week, and when they do play the top sides, they do play attractive footy.
Is Wayne Bennett the happy man at the moment?
Well, he's happy, as I said, to walk away from Leichhardt with the 2 points, but and he's given the guys off the day off, and today and tomorrow to go to the races at Caloundra with the guys having a horse up there, so they can do some punting and just rest for a little while. And, he'll start revving them up for Penrith. But, he's happy now that they're back in the winning list for sure.
I don't know whether it's a cliche, Gene, but, do you think that it is a tangible thing that sides do lift themselves to play against the premiers? And if it is, is it something that the guys have come to the realisation that, well, yeah, we've got to be at our best every week?
Yeah, I think so. We found that, when we play, well, when the guys play away, that whoever we playing lift themselves, and now they've got that extra tag of being the premiers. So, that's given that little bit extra incentive to the opposition. And maybe they're playing as well as last year, but that's not good enough at this stage, and they've just got to lift themselves a little. Because
the big difference really for Brisbane this year has probably been the fact that they haven't had a great ability in getting the ball over the line. If you have a look at their for and against, they've allowed more points against going into yesterday's game than they've been able to score. And the big attraction with Brisbane has been the fact that they've probably been the most dangerous side with the football in their hands. But the defences really are coping very well with Brisbane at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I don't say that they've changed their game plan at all. They're still throwing the ball around, as we saw in that first try that Steve Renouf scored. That was ad-lib football and just good attacking football, and they stayed on their feet and supported the ball carrier. So, I don't think they're doing anything different there. Maybe the opposition have wised up a bit, and they're a lot more hungry to knock the premiers off.
Yeah, Blocker, probably the question's got to be asked. The Alan Jones knockers are going to come out in force again. Is he under some pressure there or not?
Well, I'm not really sure if he's under pressure, Paul. I think, he doesn't go out and miss the tackles
No.
and drop the football. I just think there's a lot of young blokes in the side that have had a bit too much pressure put on them, expecting them to be the experienced ones that make all the decisions in the game.
Yeah. Well, on Friday night, we ventured out to the Sydney Football Stadium. Saw a great game of footy between East and Souths. And East won the match 18-4, but Souths, and Rex, we talked before, wasn't there some great front on defence in this game?
Well, I've never seen... that's a cliche. I don't think what you said before was a cliche. I think all teams lift when they play against the premiers. Anyway, I believe that in this game, Johnson put on one of the best half-a-games head-on tackling performances that I've seen in recent memory. He was absolutely devastating, and I think he's got to the stage now that some of the players are actually looking for him and being very concerned that he's opposite them in a tackle.
Well, it was that good, Rex, when unfortunately he got
there
hurt,
he is,
was carried off. I saw about half a dozen Roosters' hands go up to say, well, look, I'll help carry this stretcher off.
Quickly.
Souths had some chances, didn't they? They bombed that try in the first 5 minutes, and from then on it just went from bad to worse for them. They made enough breaks to win the game, but lack of support and the last pass going to ground let them down badly.
When the South Sydney side lost both Johnson and Mark Carroll, they didn't seem to have the sting up front. They come back into the game in the second half, and it was all over once Eastern Suburbs scored again.
We said they, in the pre-season, showed so much promise, and it was their young players
Welcome.
that really came to the fore. But we did ask the question whether they were going to be able to maintain that week in, week out over 40-minute halves. And we saw Shane Wilson play with so much distinction at fullback. He's now not there. Slattery at 5'8" has been out of the side. Fuller hasn't been in the starting lineup. So now the young guys have probably struggled a little bit. But having said that, they've still got enormous ability and something that will come to the fore.
Just looking at that try then, scored by Appleby.
Clearly should have been a penalty try.
No, it should have been a penalty try, and the kick should have been taken from in front of the stick.
That's right, and that cost the Eastern Suburbs side the opportunity to kick a goal, which they could barely do all night.
What about this bloke, Silver? How easy did he run?
It makes you wonder what some of these in-goal judges are doing. I mean, how would he...
I don't know how he did it, but he did. It was an aberration. It was one of those things that happen occasionally.
And fortunately, the conversion was successful anyway. Otherwise, the kick would have been taken in front. So they really did make it a very difficult 2 points when it should have been a gift, really.
He's a nice player, Craig Field. Very impressive young player, isn't he, the halfback? He made a lot of busts.
Yeah.
What about that one?
I mean, get up quickly. What's wrong with you?
It didn't affect him.
No.
He kicked the ball forward straight after.
Lucky he had his headgear on. There was a bit of a head clash.
But here's Craig Field, saw the opportunity from dummy half, got through some bit dusty East defence, and he was about their best player. Gary Freeman, on the other hand, controlled the rucks again well for East, put the bomb up, and this was the...
He's always there, isn't he, Paul?
Yeah,
always there.
Try that clinched it for East, all for going over in the corner.
Well, what about Eastern Suburbs this year? Like, I've heard criticism that they play too stodgy a style of football to be competitive. I must admit, looking at on paper last year, they had no right to lead the competition for 3 months, yet they did. And again, they're up on 7 points now. So
they weren't stodgy the other night, were they?
No, that's
right.
right.
It's a most entertaining game. And listen, let's give a rap right now to Harrigan.
Great game.
Who I thought had an absolutely outstanding game
And
of
the
rugby
week
league.
before too.
Well, perhaps he did the week before. I didn't see that one, but I thought it was absolutely great. He kept them wide apart.
And he wasn't blowing his whistle.
And he wasn't
all day,
blowing his whistle. There was no penalty for the first 24 minutes.
It was the best refereeing performance I've seen all year.
Be interesting to see.
Gino, you're still there?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Eastern Suburbs, or Mark Murray for that fact, is going to do when the arrival of Martin Afire comes on the scene, because the Eastern Suburbs wingers are certainly going very well.
They're
They're
great.
going terrific. It's actually debatable whether Afire comes out because of the insurance problem that normally players get insured for about $800.
Was he a movie star?
Wigan wants $33,000.
That's why I'm not back there this year.
Yeah, no, turn it up. We'll be back after the break to preview the rest of round 5. Stay with us.
No, Mr. Lamb, in all seriousness, the reason nearly 800 people are here to honour you tonight is that your track record stands alone. In the words of Shakespeare, you are like bright metal on a sullen ground, your talents towering over your faults. You have a career that has spread from district to state to nation. You are, and have been, eulogized and lionized by experts and fans alike. You are the player's player. As a friend of mine, an Italian friend, said, if they had a team of legends, you would be the Don, the first among equals. And may I pay you my own little homage, Terry, when I honestly say that, honest to God, you were nearly good enough to play for St. George.
Yeah, very funny man, Brian Dall there at your night the other night, Terry. You need an armoured car to get away from there, they reckon. It was 800 people at $400 a head or something?
400, yeah. No, $75 a head, but it was a great night.
Great night.
Very proud of it.
Yeah, you fully deserve it too.
Thank you.
Well, if you want to put yourself in the running for a cash prize of $1,000, lodge your vote right now. The question is the head-high tackle rule too tough? To vote yes to that question, simply phone 0055 60256, and to vote no, 0055 60257. We're going to keep the lines open throughout the show and bring in the counting as we log the calls. So just get on that blower like this and go yes or no. Doesn't matter if you answer yes or no.
How do you do that again?
Yes
you
or no.
pick the phone up and say, oh, sorry.
Packed into some scrums.
Amstrad phones are great phones too. Well, tomorrow night at 8:30pm, we'll bring you a full replay of the Canterbury Bulldogs battle with one of the season's surprise packages, the Parramatta Eels. You'll see that at 8:30 tomorrow night. Terry Lamb, you're expecting a tough game, no doubt, because they have been a surprise. They're playing some great football, the Eels.
Yeah, they're a young, enthusiastic team. Last few years have been together. They brought Paul Dunn and Michael Speechley, who's sort of controlling the game. And, you know, they're just keen and they really want to win. I think they want to do Mick Cronin proud as well.
But your side, I mean, they're going as well, better than anything, aren't they? Undefeated, and you've had some big wins, especially against Brisbane and Auckland. What's been the secret, say the turnaround, from your side last year to this year? Maybe someone like Martin Bella getting you going forward?
Yeah, Marty's going real well at the moment. Luke Goodwin's come in at a fullback. We had a problem last year there. But I think the players have just matured over the last 2 years and learnt by their mistakes.
You're not going too bad yourself, are you, for an old bloke?
They keep me going, the young blokes.
Yeah. You blokes want to ask a question, or are you just going to let me ask it?
Yeah, how much longer are you going to play for?
It's a pretty hard question, Rex, so I just take it week by week at the moment.
Is it true that you can't train at the moment in the legitimate sense? You don't go out and do the night's training?
I don't do anything over about 100 metres running. When the other blokes do the 200s, I just go inside and punch the bags and get on the bike.
And that obviously it's doing you no harm because you're playing well enough.
Well, we've had 4 games now, and the match fitness is there, so that's what's keeping me going as well.
Bar Jimmy Dimmick, for a player so young, he's got great ball skills. I think he's been the unsung hero for Canterbury in the early premiership matches.
For sure, he's just turned 21 last week, and he's playing great football and very mature football.
Just on to tomorrow's game, Terry, you've obviously watched Parramatta the last couple of weeks. Without any doubt, the big difference with the Parramatta side this year has been their defence. They actually, I think, currently now have the best defensive record in the competition.
32 points against, and we've got 34.
But mate,
Is that including a field goal you might have kicked?
What I missed there.
you have scored 40 points more than them. So your attacking game is something that you'll be looking to capitalise against what has been a very strong Parramatta defence, led by their two new buys, Dunn and Speechley.
Yeah, we've just got to defend ourselves firstly, and then our attack will come. But their defence, we watched the video, and it's pretty tight up the middle, and maybe might get them around the wing spots with young Brett Dallas. He's very quick over 100 metres, as you know, in that Storwell gift.
What sort of a loss, Jared McCracken?
Well, Crackers is a great loss. He's a hard, strong player, and he's tough. He's not scared to take the ball up. He gives the forwards a rest when we need him, and he's a great defender. He will be missed, but Andy Patmore's in there, and he'll do a good job.
Gino, how do you see that one going between Canterbury and Para?
I'd just like to ask Bar a question. The side must be going extremely well to have Ewan McGrady in reserve grade, Bar.
Yeah, Panda's had a knee injury, and he just came back from the knee injury. I spoke to him yesterday, and it's still a little bit sore. But, you know, he's a great player to have on the bench. You couldn't ask a better attacking player.
There's not too many more exciting players around than him.
Yeah, he's getting there. I hope his defence improves, but I think it will. Just in time, he's got to get his confidence back in reserve grade.
What, Jason Smith, where's he come from?
Well, he's a brother of Darren Smith. He's a Queensland boy. He's at the moment he's on the train-on squad for the Queensland team.
He's beefed up a bit too.
Yeah,
Bar over the off-season.
He's put about 6 or 7 kilos on in the off-season, and he really needed to do that to...
Been on your diet blocker, has he?
Actually, Fatty, no.
You got more chins than a Chinese phone book blocker.
Oh, we're starting to give it to me, are we? Yeah. Don't forget Rex is up the end of the table, all right?
That's what I was just about to remind you. Keep going on him.
Has Chris Anderson taken you aside at all, Terry? Like the influence that you're having on the young players is enormous. Is it something that you've sat down and discussed? Like, I remember watching you playing the Brisbane game where Luke Goodwin late in the game made a couple of mistakes. He had a fine match that night, but just a couple of things. It's something that you and the coach have sat down and thought, well, how is the best way that I can show my responsibility to these guys?
I think it's if the players make the mistake, it's silly bagging a player on the field if they make a mistake. You just go up to them and say, listen, bad luck, you'll improve, and you'll make up for it. And he did make up for it in that Brisbane game, set up the try for Jimmy Dimmick. So it's just a matter of talking to the players. If they want help, give them help.
Well, our match of the day tonight is West playing Illawarra down there at Campbelltown Stadium. West's had a bit of a blow. Jason Liddon's pulled out of their side. Andrew Willis comes in, and Justin Dooley goes on to the fresh reserves bench. Steele, you're heading out there for that one. How do you see it going?
Well, I've been an enormous fan of Illawarra towards the end of last season and the beginning of this year. They probably haven't played as good a football as I thought they would, even though they did strike back last week. Western Suburbs have been a gross disappointment. I really expected big things from them. Jason Taylor has been outstanding for them, but in a lot of cases he hasn't had a lot of support, and I've been surprised at the way that Wests have played. With Warren Ryan in charge, you'd think a very disciplined approach, which is the way we've seen all their sides that he has coached play. But I think they've sort of carried the form from the pre-season competition into the main domestic competition, and it's not going to work for them.
Well, you think they do it hard today because Edgar Britt's out, and the other bloke, Kyle White, he's not playing either. So they're lacking in forward power. Illawarra's got Paul McGregor back in their side too, first time for a few weeks.
They just signed a new contract with the Steelers too.
Well, the new side's coming in. They're all looking for new players. Rex, what about you? How do you think, Illawarra or West?
Yeah, I go for Illawarra. I think West have got a few problems at the moment. Illawarra, I think, will lift after their flogging by Manly. I've always had a great rap on that side. I like the look of the side, and I think that they're a young side that's growing together, and they'll develop into a very good unit. I think this year might be the year they get back in the semis again. They did last year. I reckon they're a good side.
You mentioned McGregor back. Also, Dale Fritz came back into the side last week, and straight away there was a noticeable change. I think he's one of their underestimated players. Defensively, very, very strong, but I think the good work done by Rodwell and McGregor in a lot of ways is the fact they get good early ball from him.
And they've missed that over the last couple of weeks too.
They led East 18 blot, after about 60 minutes, and led East back into it. That's good form going into this game, isn't it? Considering East won easily the other night. Well,
East don't give you too much, do they? You know, we've spoken about, I don't know if it's a stodgy style of play at all, but they you know, they're very disciplined in what they do, and they're a difficult side to beat. So to be able to run up an 18-0 lead against them shows that you've got plenty of strike power.
Illawarra last year in the semi-finals lacked one power player in the forwards, I thought. And buying Bobby Linder was probably their best move that they've made all off-season.
Well, there's other matches today too. Saints are playing Penrith down at Crogra. Canberra's playing Cronulla. Newcastle on Norths and Gold Coast are at home to Manly. And Rex, Mighty Eagles are going all right under the new coach.
Yes, I give Fulton a lot of the credit. I think partially Fulton, partially having got rid of the other guy. No names, no pectoral. At this stage, there's no point in criticising people that have got a health problem. I've been highly critical of the coaching in the club for a couple of years, as you will well know, and I had my say at the annual general meeting this year.
You did stand up at the general meeting and had a bit of a lash at him, didn't you? And
I didn't mention his name.
No.
I mentioned the coaching, but I didn't mention his name. And I'm agreeably surprised at the speed with which Fulton has been able to turn it around. He's done it in two ways. A, because he's the Australian coach, and he's obviously a lot of the Manly players consider they're a representative chance under the new Australian coach. The other thing is that Fulton is a guy, I think he's got enough brains to realise that he's given them a release. He's given them the opportunity now to play a football that is the tradition of the Manly club, to move the ball around. The other guy didn't do that. He would encompass them into a sort of a very strictly limited area.
I've seen them a few times. They're playing some wonderful football, the Eagles. A lot of the young players have come through, and Bozo's given them the confidence to go out and do their own thing, and they're playing great. And the old hands like Hasler, Ian Roberts.
Well, Hasler's still an incredibly good athlete and a marvellous player. He really is a combination of great athleticism and great playing ability. But the young guys are performing marvellously at the moment. Some of the young guys in the side are just going so well. Ryan in the centre.
It'll get harder and harder every week now.
Oh, I really agree, but let's let them enjoy it while they can.
They're playing well. I'm not taking away from them, but it will get harder for them.
The side can't be travelling too badly if they've got Jeff Tuvey playing in reserve grade at the moment. So after a cruel start with injuries to those sort of guys, you've got Ian Roberts, who I don't think has really been fit for 3 years. I certainly don't.
Well, I reckon Roberts is one of the classic examples of the new look Manly side, because now at least we've got Roberts going forward and offloading the football. Yeah. He's done that about 19 times last week. A couple of them fell on the ground. That's the way ball distributors are. Yeah. The rest of the time he's getting the ball away, and we're suddenly playing broken field football. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons. He's a classic example of the new look coaching technique.
So you're trying to say Manly by 30 today?
I wouldn't say by 30. I'd say by 29.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for joining us, Gene. You're coming down tonight, aren't you, for the game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, Fatty.
All right then, good as gold. We've enjoyed you getting here early. Yeah, that's good. Well, after the break, the greatest comeback in the history of the game, Rex the Moose Mossop, and the Pass the Ball competition. It's back. Stay right where you are.
In 1915, the Balmain Tigers won all three grades, and then again in 1916 and 17 won the comp, after only 7 years in the game. Their most memorable league moment came in 1969, when they downed the dynamic, free-flowing South Sydney 11-2. Stars like Golden Boots Keith Barnes, Arthur Beetson, Larry Corrower, Steve Roach, Wayne Pearce, Peter Provan. The Tigers, 11-time league premiers, are one of the foremost sides in the Winfield Cup. They symbolise what rugby league is.
Tiger, Tiger, burning bright. No doubt the Balmain fans are praying for the good times to return. Well, one lucky viewer is in for a good time if he or she can win the $1,000 prize and offer to voters in our phone poll giveaway. All you have to do is respond to the question, is the head-high tackle rule too tough? To vote yes, simply phone 0055 60256. To vote no, make it a 7 on the end of it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, out there in rugby league land, it's time for the return of one of football's most famous traditions, an event made famous by a legend of the game. It's welcome back to Rex the Goose Mossop and the Pass the Ball competition, where players have the chance to win an 8-day Qantas holiday at Club Med Bali. Here's Rex.
Thank you, Fatty, and this is the 25th year of the passing competition, would you believe? But only the first occasion here at Channel 9. And I'd like to welcome to Ferris Ashton over there, who's standing out there to give the balls back and pass the ball to the players who are doing it. I think you'll agree there is a similarity between the present-day Ferris and Blocker Roach.
It's a start, Rex.
You're looking good, mate. You're looking very good. The competitors you've already met. We've got Terry Lamb, on my immediate left, and we've got the other guy from the Balmain club, Brian Smith. Now, I'll explain the rules to you so you know exactly what the story is. We've got the board here. We've got 10 for the elephant's eye, bullseye, with a target here in the middle. You get 7 here, 5, 3 and 1. If the ball lands on the line, you take the lowest score. I'm the sole judge of fact, so no bloody arguments, you understand? All right, now go up there, fellas, and be prepared to take the pass from Blocker. And I think, Brian Smith, your first cab off the rank.
Be used to running off a few of these, eh, Smitty?
Absolutely. Okay, now watch the footfall, because if you footfall, I'll take any score away from you. Okay, fire when ready. 7. Oh, beautiful. Rounds of applause. And another 7. Oh, he's gone right around it this time. That's very, very good indeed. 3 sevens are 21, 31. No, hold it, Terry Lamb.
Not the other side, eh?
Jeez, put some pressure on me.
Terry Lamb. Okay, first lot of passes from right to left. 7. 7. 7. You've got to get it up a bit. 7. 28 plays 31. Now the other side. Okay.
Kid, aren't you?
On the line, I think 5.
Oh, Rex,
on the
turn it
line,
up.
5.
That was a 7.
5. 7. No correspondence will be entered into. Another 7. And another 7. 3 sevens are 21, 26, and 28. 8 and 6 is 14, 54. Is that correct?
Yeah, carry the 3, that's it.
Okay, righto, Terence, let's go. 7.
Good shot.
7. Oh, blimey, 5.
He's gone. Needs a 10.
And a 7. 26
Please dummy, Rex.
and 31. What score is that?
Yeah, he ran second, Rex.
57, 54 is correct. Right, join me up here, fellas. You had a bit of a blowout there on the left. Come over here on the right, mate. You're the winner.
Bad left arm, mate.
Bad left arm, eh? We've got some good prizes for you. I can't believe just how good the prizes are, to be quite honest. You've got a Gillette Sensor wet pack and a Platinum Edition razor and an Amstrad STR 100 stereo, and of course you're still in the running for the Qantas Club Med Holiday in Bali. The runner-up, this is you. That was your lot of prizes, the first lot I read out. The Gillette Sensor wet pack, just hold the phone, and Amstrad STR 100 stereo. So there you go. Give the present.
Brian?
Is that for me or for...
That's for you.
I won't kiss you or anything, mate.
No, you can shake my hand, though.
Okay, you'll go on into the semi-finals. You've got the opportunity. You picked up your goodies and your blow. All the best.
Thanks very much, Rex.
Good luck to you, mate.
Thanks, Rex.
Okay, that's it for the passing competitions for this week, and we'll off back to the gentleman who's in charge.
We've lost nothing, Rex. Back in a moment.
He sent him off for the elbow.
In response to our question, is the head-high tackle rule too tough? So far, 40% of callers have voted yes, and 60% have lodged a no vote, which is very interesting. The phone lines are still open. We've had 8 million so far, but we want some more. To vote yes to that question, simply phone 0055 60256, and to vote no, dial 0055 60257. Don't forget that one lucky caller stands to win 1,000 Oxfords just for being part of the debate. And to help us take a closer look at the head-eye tackle issue, it's welcome to the Chief of the New South Wales Judiciary, Vince Bruce. Vince, you've been a very busy man lately.
Oh, no busier than normal, I don't think.
Yes, well, before we talk to Vinny, let's see what actually happens at a typical judiciary sitting. We took our cameras for the very first time for a peep at Monday night's session.
This is the only view league fans had of the accused up until this week. Players at the steps of the league about to face the sport's lawmaking body. That was until the Footy Show gained a historic first. This is the league judiciary that's caused headlines. The chairman is QC Vince Bruce. The other two, former footballers Ron Coote and Peter Wynn. This rare and exclusive insight was taken on Monday night. Before the panel, Russell Wire, who received 8 weeks, and Mario Fanick banished for 2. We can't show you their faces for legal reasons. Both cases were debated vigorously by well-known solicitors. Newspaper reports claim the cost of the suspension of players and clubs can range up to $60,000. The judiciary has been the centre of much criticism this week, along with the citing of players. Some form of judiciary dates back to the early 1900s. One of its more unusual decisions to suspend 14 glebe players back in 1917. Even with the sightings these days, the league doesn't expect that to happen again.
Well, actually, here's the law of the game that's causing all the controversy. A player is guilty of misconduct if he, when affecting or attempting to effect a tackle, makes contact with the head or neck of an opponent intentionally, recklessly or carelessly. And Vince Bruce, is it a very grey area?
No, I think it's pretty clear. The rule as it stood before it was changed by the International Board last year let questions arise as to whether you'd come into contact with the neck as opposed to the head, questions of whether or not it had been intentional. And now the question is, did you come into contact with the neck or the head? And if you did, the next question is, was it intentional, was it reckless, or was it careless? And if it's any one of those three, an offence has been committed. If it's not one of those three, there's no offence.
Well, it's got to be one of those three. No? I can't think of any other occasion that I'm not a fan of the rule, Vince. I must admit that, to me, it's a rule that has been brought in for the sake of bringing a rule in. Now, as a player, and I know that I've retired and didn't play a lot of football over the last couple of years, I felt protected in the game. Now, I have to ask about consistency and all these things. I'm looking at this one from Brett Mullins that we just saw then. Why wasn't he suspended under that rule?
Well, I didn't have Mullins before me at any time.
Well, we saw Brett Mullins go in, tackle a man high, got sent off. Now, he wasn't suspended. Maybe we're putting the cart before the horse here. I just think that it's a rule that has been brought in when players already felt protected. I know, as I say, I felt protected that if I was taken out illegally, then I was in the situation where that player was going to be sent off or cited later on, and I felt comfortable with that. I just look at it that we're putting the livelihood of some of our very best players and the existence of in the game under a great cloud. The likes
Pete,
of
you've only got to look at the front-on tackling style of the Gilmeisters and the Martin Masalas. Them blokes are wondering, how am I going to fix my style? They jump in the tackles. That's how Gilmeister makes ball and all tackles.
Vince, are you a rugby league fan? You watch the game closely.
Yep.
Do you think players now are tackling higher than they were 5-10 years ago?
I think they are, because there's now a greater emphasis on what people call the ball and all tackle. And they go in at shoulder height. They don't go in at the ball height. They go in higher. And they're rising. The way they're taught to tackle is to rise up to the tackled player.
Yeah, Vince, my pet hate in the game is most forwards tackle front on. If a player goes in, and they say that it takes two to tie up the ball, one player goes in and tackles around the hip, and the second player comes in with a shoulder shot over the top, which he's room for target, and the area is only about 6 or 7 inches. I mean, even the players are getting penalised for high tackles and sort of looking, and the players who are getting tackled are looking as if to say, well, there was nothing wrong with that.
Well, that may be the case, but what you've got to do is weigh up what the league is trying to achieve, and that is to protect players.
So what, are we going to have one-on-one tacklers?
No. Peter's just said that players' livelihoods are being put at stake by the risk of being suspended. players' livelihoods are being put at stake by being taken out of the game, having their jaws broken, being injured. But when they...
I don't think the whole idea of the rule was to protect players. And what my argument is before this year, I believe players felt protected. Now, the whole idea of defence is to stop the football. There will always be an area in the game or room for the game to go low. But the whole idea is to stop the football. You must go high in this game of rugby league. That leaves no margin of error. I believe there should be some margin there.
Well, maybe the New South Wales Rugby League and Australian Rugby League are searching for a means of opening the game up and not having those high tackles that are ball and all tackles so that they get the opportunity, the players, to offload the football. That could be a secret agenda they have behind this.
I think the game's open enough, Rex. I mean, there's some wonderful football.
Well, we've seen some pretty ordinary football too in the last couple of years.
That's because of the way they're being coached.
That's exactly right. But unfortunately, players do what the coach wants, don't they? Invariably do what the coach wants.
I reckon it's better than it's ever been. There's some great attacking players around at the moment, and young attacking players.
Well, if it is a hidden agenda, Rex, I understand what you're saying, trying to open the game up, but why not just come out and say that okay, we're not trying to protect the players. That's not the first and foremost thing. We are trying to do something with the game of rugby league as well, and keep the ball moving. And if that is what they're trying to do, they've gone the wrong way about it anyway. Because the biggest problem with non-ball movement is the third player coming into the tackle.
Yeah,
so that should be the area that should be addressed.
Yeah. Righto, hold the phone. We're going to have a break now and come back. We're going to cook up a couple of curly ones for Vince. We'll go after the break.
Well, 15 quid a win.
We've got Vince Bruce with us, who's the head of the Judiciary. Lockie, you went up before Vince, didn't you?
A couple of times.
How'd you go?
6 weeks.
And you think he was a bit lenient on you?
No, mate, I took it on the chin, mate. That's the way it goes. The thing I'd like to ask Bruce while I've got him here, Mr. Bruce, I'll call him Vince now. Is that all right?
That's all right.
You don't mind? I mean, I had to be on all fours when I was last time.
I didn't notice it.
Paul Sirenen sent off for a high tackle and later let off.
Yeah, we've got, actually, Blocker, we've got two incidents here we'd like you to have a look at.
Good.
There's one involving Jared McCracken who got cited. Here he is there, throws a punch, got suspended for 2 weeks for that incident. He was cited by the Cronulla club. We've got the one with Paul Sirenen in the Penrith game. Similar type incident, swinging arm, punch. He was exonerated.
Yeah, but this bloke had the football.
He was exonerated, still threw the punch.
Can I ask my question now, Paul?
Can I just say to Vince, what's the difference between the two?
Well, I think there was a significant difference between the two. McCracken was a tackle or was a strike to a fellow who didn't have the ball. In Sirenen's case, I don't think you can say that he was punching. What he was doing, his arm was coming over in the course of a tackle. It may have come into contact with his head at some time, but it's not an offence just to come into contact with the head.
See, that's the big... In the public, that's what they want to see, the question of credibility and consistency. Now, we saw someone like Mario Fennick, who received 2 weeks last week for a headbutt. Now, Mario doesn't have the best track record, and I don't know. Is that brought into account?
Your record's brought into account on not whether you're guilty or not guilty, but it's brought into account on your penalty.
Right.
But Mario's played a lot of games, and he has been down to the judiciary a lot of times.
Yeah,
but he doesn't get 8 weeks for one thing and then go in again and get 2 weeks.
But he doesn't get convicted
very
often.
Craig Salvatore last year, he got something like, I'm not sure whether it was 6 or 8 weeks.
No, he got 5.
5 weeks.
There were significant differences between the two events.
Okay.
And you can't really say that you should get the same sentence for an event or a crime, an offence of the same thing. For example, last year, head-high tackles range from cautions to 8 weeks. And you've got to look at each case and decide it on the merits of that case, the circumstances, who was involved, what they did, and then make up your mind as best you can.
But
it's a good source of income for lawyers to be connected with football clubs and defending them at the judiciary?
Well, I'm not sure that that's right, because there are a lot of lawyers who come down there for nothing. For example, Peter Kaplan, who's there regularly for Norths, he's been a lifelong member of the club. He's a member of the football club. Gordon Salia, who's a solicitor that comes with him, they both come for nothing because they are supporters of the club. And I'm sure that applies to lots of other guys that come down there appearing for players.
Well, they spend all their night defending players for nothing.
A lot of them do.
Vince, are you happy with the citing system? You happy with the citing system? Is that anything to do with you, but
No, it's got nothing
what do
to
you
do
think
with
of the
us.
siding system that it now goes before one person? That's John Quayle. I would think he's got enough on his plate without having to worry
Well,
about
in
siding.
his defence, Quayle has never quibbled at this. He's demanded that he do it.
I'm not questioning his integrity either.
No, either am I. Nobody is. What's that mean? What's that all about?
One of his...
Hang on, Vince. Thanks for coming. That's the full-time whistle, so a big vote of thanks to the head of the Judiciary, Vince Bruce, for taking part. I hope you and your panel, who Ronnie Coote and Peter Wynn, have an easy session this week. After the break, the result of our phone poll, plus we'll find ourselves a winner in our $1,000 giveaway. See ya. And Vince is still here with us. Actually, Vince, I know you'd like to answer the question we asked you just before we went to the break.
Yes, I would. It seems to me that John Quayle's done a terrific job over the years dealing with sightings, and if clubs are prepared to make their complaints, have him deal with them, they'll come up to the Judiciary and dealt with in the proper way as they have been over the years.
Righto. Okay. Nice answer, Vince. The question we did put to our viewers was, is the head-high tackle rule too tough? Now, 39% voted yes, it's too tough, and 69% said no. And among the callers is one viewer drawn by our computer as the winner of our $1,000 cash prize. It's congratulations to James Griffin from Cessnock, up there in the beautiful Hunter Valley, New South Wales. James, well done. I'd be putting all of that money on Rough Habit tomorrow. It's a special.
We haven't had much luck there.
No, the full-time siren's about to sound here on the opening edition of the Footy Show. I'd like to thank Rex, Sterlo and Blocker for joining us. It's going to be on every week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make a date to join us tonight for our big replay of the West versus Illawarra game from Campbelltown. Should be a beauty. Meanwhile, grab your club colours and get out to a ground to support your favourite team this afternoon. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Footy Show. Until next time, it's bye for now.